Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for Z Nation Season 3. And what this video is going to be doing is looking at Citizen Z's new friends and looking at whether they truly are going to be friends of his or whether they might turn out to be dangerous as Season 3 goes on. If you are not caught up with Z Nation and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then I would exit the video now and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay, so before Season 3, Citizen Z lived alone at Northern Lights, and eventually he was able to come in contact with a dog, but no other people for several years. And obviously that would be hard for someone to do. To live by themselves, to not have much communication other than through, the radio, not having any human contact. That would have to be a very hard thing to do. So after the base was partially destroyed by the nuclear blast, after he had to abandon it because Zono's tracking it, he ended up getting lost out on the tundra. He was freezing. It was obviously very cold up there, suffering from hypothermia, close to death, and miraculously somebody found him. Her name was Kaya, and she's a young woman. I'm not sure how old she is, but I would assume that she would be a young adult. And she brings him back to where she lives and nurses him back to health. And it turns out that Kaya lives with her uncle and her nana. So the three of them have been living in this, in their home, is what I assume it to be, ever since the apocalypse started. And because of the environment, because of the freezing cold temperatures, there were not a lot of people living there either. So they really have lived there for the most part without too much interference from zombies, from other threats, from dangers. And they've been surviving by themselves, kind of like how Citizen Z was. But of course, they had each other. That's at least a little bit of a benefit that the three of them had. And of course, now these two groups are together. And what we've come to learn so far about Kaya is that she is a huge fan of Citizen Z's. She tells him, yeah, I know who you are. I'm one of your biggest fans. I used to listen to you all the time. And, basically, Citizen Z is definitely somebody that she idolizes, respects, loves, and absolutely adores, it seems. And in many ways, you also see that Citizen Z gave Kaya hope. Because as it was explained in the episode Murphy's Miracle, Kaya basically said, there were times where when he would talk, he would give her hope, where she would feel more hopeful because of what Citizen Z was saying on the radio, that she had faith that things were going to get better. So obviously you see that Kaya has this, celebrity idolizing of Citizen Z. She does like him. And, the uncle and nana really seem like nice individuals. They don't really seem like they're too out of the ordinary. They do seem like very nice people you'd want to survive with. But Kaya definitely is a character that is very hard to, determine at this moment as to whether she really is just that harmless fan that many celebrities have, or whether she's something more, like a stalker might be. You hear about stories like that all the time. Many of us are just fans of celebrities. We like some of them, whether it's based on their acting, the music they're making, their speeches, their political beliefs, messages. I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of famous people in this world that people idolize them. That's why they are celebrities. And unfortunately, you have people that take it a little bit of a step further, that they end up taking it to an extreme where they could potentially be doing harm to the celebrity. And at this point, I haven't really determined which one of those two people Kaya really is, because I think she could be either. I do wonder if her obsession with Citizen Z is something that's going to hurt Citizen Z in the future, or whether it's going to lead to something even more beautiful. Because, the thing about Citizen Z is, obviously, one, these people have saved his life, so he's very appreciative towards them. Number two, he hasn't been, in contact with people. Yeah, he's talked with people from Operation Bite Mark, but imagine locking yourself in a room for a while and there was only a video web camera and you could talk to people, but you couldn't physically be in the same room with them. Obviously, that doesn't feel the same. That's obviously something that would be very hard for somebody to deal with. Not having human connection, not getting a hug, not being able to look at somebody in the eyes, not being able to share that connection that sometimes you feel with somebody when they're in the room with you. So Citizen Z's, his radar about whether people are good or bad or dangerous might be a little bit less guarded at this point because he's so excited to finally see people again at this point. But again, what is going to happen with Kaya? Because I think that she's really the only one to be concerned about. So far, I think that at this point, I think that she really is somebody who is passionate about Citizen Z. I think she is genuinely a nice person. But part of me wonders if something is just going to happen later on in the show that is going to make her change. Because sometimes it's what happens around you that changes you. You might be a good guy or a good person, if you will, like a protagonist would be in a story when, it starts, but maybe because of certain things that have happened, you later become something different. I mean, we've kind of seen that theme in books, movies, TV shows where somebody was a good guy or a good girl or person and they ended up becoming the bad person for whatever reason. And I think that at this point, Kaya being with her uncle and Nana has really been something that I think has kept her more stable. I think that it made her somebody who, could appreciate different human connections. But part of me thinks that if she would have been by herself, that maybe her obsession with Citizen Z might have been a little bit more like the stalker, if you will, in our modern day idea of what celebrity stalking is. But I think that because she's had other connections, I think that she's really gotten to the point where she only, just idolizes Citizen Z because he gave her hope. Now, obviously, the four of them are now going to Northern Lights, and they're going to stay there, is my assumption, or at least get supplies. I really don't know what they're going to do, whether they're going to stay there, whether they're going to leave. But part of me thinks that if something happens to the uncle and Nana, then I think that Kaya might become more like somebody who is dangerous. Because you do remember, you go back to that first episode where she was in, where she said, well, I've read the book Misery. I like it. I mean, I like you. I'm obsessed with you. Not Kathy Bates Misery obsessed, but she says she likes the book. And if you're not familiar with Misery, I suggest you read it. It's a very, very wonderful Stephen King novel, as well as a movie with James Caan. Kathy Bates won the Academy Award that year for that role for Best Actress. And I think that what you find with this setup is that Kaya has the potential, I think, to be like Kathy Bates's character in Misery. And I do have to wonder if that is something that will happen to her if she loses her uncle and her Nana. Because I think that what you see with her is when she has all of them, I think that she's, very, very much more centered. I don't think that she would go as nuts. I think that she really is a good person, just has an obsession with Citizen Z. And I really could see that if all four of them lived up there, I could see a potential where maybe Citizen Z and Kaya would get together, because you did see that Citizen Z, when he was in the room with Kaya, when he was trying to get onto Addie's signal because Addie sent that message over the radio, you did see that moment where after Kaya was crying because, she wanted Citizen Z back, and Citizen Z, aka Simon, is not doing the radio thing anymore. You saw at the end there where Citizen Z was comforting her that he was leaning in and getting ready to kiss her. This was something that he was going to do. And obviously they were interrupted. But part of me thinks that maybe if all of them were together, maybe this would be a good opportunity for Citizen Z to have some kind of a love interest in his life. Now, the question also would be, would it be serious, or is it just something that, because he hasn't had connections for a while, it might be something he would rush into, which I think it could go either way. I think in many respects, Citizen Z, I think he does care about Kaya. I think he wants to be there for her like he has been before as a voice, somebody to give her hope. But at the same time, he might not really realize just how much is behind Kaya. And if he doesn't, if he acts in a way that might offend her, if he does get into a relationship with her and then find out it's just not for him, that might lead to something bad. And the other thing is that what if they, what if she wants to be with him and he thinks about it for a while and he goes, nah, I don't really want to be with you, Kaya. I think you're nice, but I think we're just better friends. And what if she, starts to become a little unhinged as a result of that? That I think could happen. But I truly think that at some point in the show, and I think it'll be this season, I think that the uncle and or Nana, I wouldn't doubt it if something happened to both of them, but I get the feeling that they are going to die at some point in season 3. Whether it is going to be that zombies happen to find their way back up there, maybe there were a few others that weren't killed. Maybe Nana might get sick, something might happen to her, and she might end up becoming a zombie, or the uncle might become a zombie, maybe attack Nana, or Nana attacks the uncle. I could see that happening. I could also see, maybe again, something instead might be like people from Zona, that maybe Zona does go to Northern Lights because it does know about it, because it does want to collect things, and maybe they're all taken prisoner. That's a possibility too. Maybe we won't explore that storyline, but I kind of think that something will happen to Uncle and Nana. And if Uncle and Nana die, then I think that Kaya will start to become unhinged a little bit. I think that there's a very good chance that maybe she might end up becoming like that dangerous fan that you think of, that maybe her obsession with Citizen Z will become more and more and more because she won't have her uncle and her Nana. The only person that she would have is Citizen Z. And I think that if it was just the two of them, part of me thinks that if Citizen Z would not appeal as much to Kaya's interests, then I think Kaya might snap, and it might result in something bad happening to Citizen Z. You might see a scene out of the book Misery. It might be something that could happen there. Or, again, maybe I'm not judging her correctly. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I'm being too judgmental with Kaya. I mean, her personality's definitely a little different. It's not something that I usually see in people, or we see in people maybe, but again, the apocalypse is something that is definitely going to change a lot of people, and I think that, sometimes the show might try to trick us. Maybe they are just trying to lead us in one direction, and it may just be that Kaya is a really sweet girl after all, and maybe there is hope there. Maybe Citizen Z and Kaya do have a future together. Maybe it will be a happy one. It's hard to say. The thing about this show is it is unpredictable, but as it stands right now, I'm more thinking that, again, because it's a zombie apocalypse, because they like to have stories going, I think it's more likely that something will happen to Uncle and Nana, and as a result, something is then going to happen with Kaya, and it may not be good news for Citizen Z as his character progresses. But we'll see what happens. Season 3 has definitely had a good start so far, and I'm very interested to see what they do with those characters. And it is very nice to see Z Nation finally introducing characters that are sticking around for several episodes, rather than just having more of these one-shot characters. I kind of like how Dr. Murch is more involved. I kind of like how they've introduced Kaya and her family. So I am very interested to see what they have to do with this story, and I think that Z Nation will only get better at explaining it as time goes on. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank you all for watching. Let me know what you all think. Do you think that Kaya is dangerous? Do you think she's just a nice, sweet girl? What do you think might happen? Let me know. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming, and if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a very wonderful evening, and thank you all very much for watching.